countries decide to have diplomatic ties or not. So although there were, in 1945, there were not so many as now, but at least more than 160. But of those 160, some decided to have diplomatic ties with Taiwan, some recognized China right away in 1949. Okay, so we have more. China had less. That's why in UN we could still keep our seat for 22 years. Every year they keep, bringing up arguments at UN saying, we want that seat, we're bigger, we're the real China. They're so small, they're Taiwan. Why would you give the seat to them? Like that, for 22 years, and in the year 1971, they succeeded in rallying more countries. Some of them, the Democratic camp. USA wasn't happy. President Bush was US ambassador to UN. He was so frustrated seeing his friends go into the PRC camp and vote for them. So they had more votes. We had less. And it's a democratic, we want to ask why, right? But that's the way it works that year. So they passed that resolution, 2758, and took our seat, founding member seat. Luckily or unluckily, till now, 1971, and 40-some years, we can never set one foot into the United Nations. Very sad. We hope, but we can only wish at this moment. There's a difference between hope and wish, right? Right? Hope, maybe it's possible. Wish, sometimes it's wishful thinking. China has become so big, they have so many allies over Taiwan, and most realistically and practically, they have so much trade opportunity to give to countries that countries in the world cannot help but yield to their request and say, don't allow Taiwan to set its foot in UN. So it seems very hard, although we really hope so at this moment. But never say never. The People's Republic of China keep thinking that there is one China and that China includes Taiwan. That's what it wants the whole world to do, to believe. But in practice, de facto, in legal terms, in fact, Taiwan has been operating independently as a country. Now, for a country to exist, you have to have your own budget, your own army, your own police, your own tax collecting agency, your own right to issue passport, everything, education. And Taiwan does everything as a country. So we think we are a country. We are in fact a country, still named Republic of China by ourselves, although not recognized by most countries in the world. It's a shame, it's a pity, and this is why. However, the two parties in Taiwan, the Blue Party, the KMT, as I said, since they came from mainland China, led by Generalissimo Chiang Kai-shek. So the old soldiers, most of them still miss their relatives back in mainland China. So they still harbor this hope that someday, if things become so good, that maybe Taiwan would go back to that motherland in their mind. Okay, but it's becoming less and less like that. More and more people in Taiwan enjoy this current way of living, this universal freedom, democratic way of living. More proportion of the Taiwan citizens say, let us keep status quo. Let us remain what we are for as long as possible. Thank you very much for that question. Although it sounds like a Chinese domestic issue and a diplomat is not supposed to, the diplomat is not supposed to interfere with any country's domestic issue, but it is not domestic anymore, right? If the president of China decides to be the ultimate unlimited term president, then there's going to be, concerns. Whether it is going to be good or all bad is yet to see. Depends all on himself, Mr. Xi. But one thing is warning us, one thing. Sometimes you can see big things from small things. What is the small things? Nowadays, if you have a computer, if you have internet service, if you want to Google a good Chinese phrase or idiom that begins with this president's last name, X-I-C, which is a good word. That means learning, studying, becoming a habit. If you let learning and studying becoming a habit, you are a good C, 学习. That's a good word. In the Western world, any president would say, go ahead and use my name. Name your son my name. It'd be a big honor to me, right? Now that I'm president, you use my name. But not in China. The internet police blocked all the Chinese idioms beginning with the ultimate ruler's last name, which happened only 500 years ago in Ming Dynasty. In Ming Dynasty, the emperor says, if you use the wrong word, any letterman, writers, if you write your essays and your articles and your novels and use the wrong word, mostly the word having to do with the emperor's last name or his name, it's a taboo to mention his name. I wonder why, Then this particular person can be put in prison to be dealt with, to face harsh punishment, if not the death penalty. That's what we call in Ming Dynasty the imprisonment of wrong usage of word. And in 21st century, it's happening in China. It's amazing. So you ask me whether it is going to be good or bad. It's not so good in that aspect. But between Taiwan and China, President Xi Jinping and his administration, I'm sure he wants to do well. Okay? His administration is already doing very well in terms of trade, industrial development. They have the longest high-speed railroad in the world. They have the best of this. They have the best of that in the world. All good, all good. But the administration is treating Taiwan double-handedly. One hand, they tried to solicit Taiwanese talents to Taiwan by opening up 31 items. What they did not sign in terms of trade of service. Now China want to unilaterally carry out that by inviting Taiwanese talents of 31 trade in the service area, movie, literature, not goods, but service, to go to China to earn higher salary. It's a trap, okay? On the other hand, China is tightening its treatment of international participation by Taiwan, as I mentioned. Whereas we could still go to WHA and ICAO year before last, now we cannot. One thing, totally choking Taiwan up in terms of international participation. And now, even worse, they want every Taiwanese to be from Taiwan, province of China. Between the year 2008 and 2015, we invited Chinese tourists and we allowed Chinese travel agents to run hotels, restaurants, and even buses. So the Chinese may be sending millions of tourists to Taiwan, but at the end of the day, they make most of the money back to China because we allow them to operate their buses, their hotels, and restaurants. So what do we make? We make selling of pineapple cookies, souvenirs, Still not bad, okay? Yeah, night market foods, That's when we allowed Chinese investment in Taiwan. Chinese capitals go into Taiwan in investing in newspaper, media. Yeah, also. So we did invite Chinese capital to Taiwan. However, we are becoming more and more cautious. But it is a love-hate relationship, really. We invest the most in China among all the countries in the world, at least until the year 2010, okay? Now, maybe we're not number one, maybe other countries, but still a lot. And we cannot allow all Chinese capitals to go to Taiwan. But there is a saying that says, Xi Jinping doesn't need to send the military to Taiwan. Xi Jinping doesn't have to take over Taiwan by force. To buy Taiwan is cheaper than to get Taiwan back by military forces. They say so. So there seems to be buying Taiwan instead of fighting to get Taiwan. It is everybody's concern, especially among the neighboring countries, Philippines, Thailand, Vietnam, right? South China Sea did not used to draw so much attention until petroleum was, oil reserve was found in South China Sea. Those islands, we own the island of Taiping Island, and the Spratly Islands, and nobody used to pay any attention. If we own 10,000 islands in South China Sea, nobody paid attention. If the Philippines own 10,000 islands, then nobody paid attention. Until, there's oil in South China Sea, then everybody wants it. And there was tension. One reason. Number two, the strategic importance. Everybody wants to sail through South China Sea and doing trade. And if one particular country has full control of South China Sea, let's say China, then all the other countries' vessels have to either report to them or pay money to them. That's not so good. So USA doesn't like it, European countries don't like it, India doesn't like it, the Philippines don't like it. That's why there's tension in that area. And that's only hope that matters can be solved by Joes, not by wars. Is there any potential? It's hard to say. It's hard. It happened in the history. Sometimes very ridiculously, something very minor happens and there was a war, right? So we never know. I wouldn't say no, but I would say never say never. All the reasons you gave, trade, investment, blah, 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 not as important as the Chinese traditional faith. Chinese people like faith. They don't want to lose faith. For any rulers of China, be it a king or an emperor or President Xi, if he ever lose this piece of land from the ancestor, although they gave it away to Japan for 50 years, okay? They are right, ironically. They still think it is China's land. So for any Chinese ruler to not take it back is a lose of faith. That's the most important thing, nothing else. They have tons of money in the world. Why would they care about the money from Taiwan? All our money. We are number 4 in the world in terms of foreign exchange reserve. Funny, huh? Taiwan, number 4. China, number 1. It used to be Japan, number 1. Now China, number 1, Japan, number 2. Okay? China has trillions. Japan has maybe close to 1 trillion. Then, you know who? Russia and Taiwan goes neck to neck in terms of having big money, foreign exchange reserve. If oil price goes up, they're number 3. If oil price goes down, we are number 3. So, but then still, all Taiwan's money means nothing to China. They have 1.3 billion people. All our money to them, they can only get $50 each one. What's the big deal? So it's not like that. It is the face. They don't want to lose Taiwan to anybody. I wish I could answer that question, but maybe I am not able at this moment.
You have love and hate relationships.
It's up to them, but if they can learn from Taiwan experience, Taiwan is 23 million people, it's easier to move from economic development to democratization, to freedom of this, freedom of that. For 1.3 billion people to want to do that, to agree to do that, or to be able to be educated, because there are very remote areas in China that people still live very primitively. Maybe the way of life is still 2,000 or 3,000 years ago. So I wouldn't blame the government of China if they cannot succeed in that area soon. But they should at least show their interest in sincerity in at least one area, protection of intellectual properties. If they want to make all the money in the world, do it fair, right? Don't just steal people's intellectual property. You have a new song that's very popular that took a genius mind to write and sing. They can sing it right away in China, and all the 1.3 people would listen to it every day for free, not having to buy, a videotape or a CD. Why? Infringement of intellectual property, just one example. So they should do that first, intellectual property, and after that, freedom of election, freedom of political participation, respect of gender, human rights, etc., etc., etc. Religion, So I hope, and we say this out of goodwill, that all the people of China can soon enjoy the kind of value that we all enjoy here today. Thank you very much. Thank you.